Hey everyone, Fifth Bridge Sports here. We hope you're doing well. There's been definitely some crazy times recently with COVID hitting everyone, hitting the NBA. This week we're going to be going over players to add in week 13. However, we should mention that a lot of players from our previous video, which we'll link for week 12, have fantasy relevance. All right, let's get started.
All right, so I'll get started off with our games played slide here. So here for you to reference as always if you want to know how many games your teams are going to be playing or if you want to use it to help you pick up a player. The team to point out this week, Lakers have only 2 games, so probably avoid picking up players on that team, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
Next, we have total games played by day. So this week is kind of volatile. So we have 12 games and 2 games and 13 games. Kind of goes back and forth like that. So if you have teams who play on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, it'll be really easy to fill your lineup. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, you might have to sit some guys on your bench because you're not going to be able to get everyone into the lineup. So because of that, yeah, we have our best team for fantasy this week being the Golden State Warriors. They play 4 games and do play on 2 of those lower volume game days. So if you're looking to pick someone up, maybe look towards the Warriors.
Yeah, might have Klay Thompson coming back this week. Who knows?
Yeah, if he's available in your league, time to pick him up.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go over some players to add in standard leagues. We'll start with Marketing here. So he's 70% rostered, plays on the Cavs, and they have 4 games this week. He's been averaging 25 fantasy points this season. Looking at his last few games, he's been pretty consistent, and he definitely has a role on this team. So I'd say he's worth a look. Jayshawn Tate, 69% rostered. Another solid player with 4 games this week. I don't make, that's the roster percentage. I got nothing to do with that. But he plays for Houston. They've been pretty bad this season, but he's been fairly consistent for him. He's putting up 27 fantasy points per game, and just he's looking good.
Yeah, next I'll let Batu say the name as our Turkish boy.
Ömer Yurtseven is who we have.
Beautiful. So he's 60% rostered. So currently he's probably the best player on my fantasy team because everyone else is COVID or is injured. So he's keeping me afloat, which is kind of sad. But yeah, he's had 7 consecutive 30+ fantasy point games, which is pretty insane, honestly. And a few of those games are above 40 fantasy points. So recently he's been going off. He's been dominating on the glass, been getting some good assist numbers and some good point numbers too. So if he's available in your league, I'd look at picking him up as long as Bam Adebayo and Dwayne Dedmon are still out, and it looks like they'll still be out for a couple of weeks at least. So I think he's done enough to stay in the rotation, but for now, at least he's starting at center, and there's no one really to compete with him for those minutes. So there's some big news with Kawhi Leonard this week as well, that there's a strong possibility that he could be returning. So it looks like some people are already starting to pick him up. Kawhi is one of those guys who can, really make a big difference on your team as we get towards fantasy playoffs. So on the off chance you do have an IL spot after all this COVID stuff lingering, definitely a great player to use and pick up for that. Next, we have Monte Morris, starting point guard for the Denver Nuggets. He's just been a consistent guy. He'll give you over 20 fantasy points pretty much every night. So if you want to get someone like that, he's there. Good option.
All right, next up we got the man, the myth, the legend, Pat Bev. He's rostered 37% out of Minnesota. His rostering increased by about 10% since last week. We are looking at his season numbers right now, which are not that hopeful, but he has been averaging 37, 38 fantasy points in the last 7 days. And that is, if he keeps that consistent, which he will, because Minnesota, I believe they're missing Cat right now. So I know they're not from similar positions, but Pat Bev definitely fills that void due to the shift into positions. So definitely consider picking him up. He can stay consistent. Next, we got Hassan Whiteside, also being really important with Rudy Gobert out due to COVID as of Thursday. Again, Whiteside is a player who's been in rotation for a while now. And I have him on my team, and he's been producing consistent 15 to 20 point nights now, and then he gets like 30 fantasy points. And pick him up because for the next 10 days or so, he's going to be the starting center for the Utah Jazz, and he'll be putting up decent numbers. And finally, on our standard league ads, we have Brandon Clark, whose rostering went up by 24%, and he's at 31% now. But his rostering went up by crazy. I was before recording this, I was going like, how did this guy get such high rostering? It's because Steven Adams is out due to COVID as of yesterday, which is Friday, and he's been averaging 27 points already, and now he's going to be starting instead of Steven Adams, and he's going to be averaging a lot more, maybe around 35, 40 points a week, a game, sorry.
Yeah, he's looking solid. I will add real quick though that Karl Anthony Towns is playing, but even like with Cat on the floor, Patrick Beverly, like he's still solid. Like he'll put up like the same numbers he's been putting up.
Totally.
Okay, next we're gonna go through our deep leagues. This is where if you don't have to, don't pick him kind of guys. But if you're in a big league,
That's
if you're
yeah.
in a if you're in a
That's
big
nice.
league,
That's nice.
these guys are kind of valuable. They're if you have close matchups, these are your difference makers. So we'll start off with Maxi Kleber. He's been pretty important for the Mavs right now because KP, that being Kristaps Porzingis, is out due to COVID. He should be coming back soon, though. If not, like we're looking late this week or like late next week or 2 weeks from now. Regardless, with Porzingis being on the floor, Kleber is kept in rotation, and he can put up like 15 to 20 fantasy points a night. He can be like the 12th man on your team or something. Uh, it's a good consideration. We also got Aaron Wiggins here. Again, I mixed him. Looking at stats for him, I mixed him up with Andrew Wiggins a lot because who is Aaron Wiggins, right? He plays in a team who's not doing so hot, and but man, he's producing well. He's been averaging 23 fantasy points in the last 7 days, and the numbers he's putting up are respectable. Although his rostering went down, if you can pick him up, again, as your last choice, last line of defense kind of thing, pick him up. He's a good choice there.
All right, next we have Naz Reid, 11% rostered. For some of the fans who have been around for a while, I think in our very first waiver ads video, Alex told a heartfelt story about Naz Reid and his fantasy experience with them. So if you want to go check out our very first fantasy video to see what Alex had to say about Naz Reid, I recommend looking back. But Naz Reid, he's a streaky player, admittedly. Like he can have a game off the bench where he'll, give you 20 points, and then he could come on in the next game and give you -2 points. You don't know what you're gonna get from Naz, but yeah. He's a good player at the end of the day, and I think right now he's had some good consecutive streak of performances, so I'd look at picking him up. Next we have Lance Stevenson. He's taken the advantage of getting on a 10-day contract, and he's put up 2 monster fantasy games, one above 50, one towards 40. A big part of that reason is, Indiana is missing a lot of their guards. Brogdon and LeVert are both missing time, which has really opened the window for Stevenson to come in and have that performance. Both of those guys kind of sound like they're going to be coming back soon. So because of that, Stevenson maybe won't have this tremendous value, but for now, I'd say give him a chance. I mean, he's put up, just monster fantasy games. If for whatever reason he stays on the Pacers and gets his contract, beyond a 10-day, maybe he's worth having.
Yeah, like recently dropped a 55 fantasy point game, which is insane.
It's crazy for someone who, just came in off a 10-day.
Yeah. Also, I have very few rules for fantasy basketball, but one of those rules is don't pick up Naz Reid. So I know he's on here, but I'll add that. But anyway, we got Osman rostered in 10% of leagues. Just returned the other day, and is more than capable of getting you 20 fantasy points on any given night. He's proved that. He actually averages just over 20 fantasy points despite the games he's missed. So, there's that. He has 4 games this week. And I think if you're playing in a league that's very deep, he should put up some solid points. Reggie Bullock is rostered nowhere. He's been going off lately. His game's mostly shooting threes, and lately I guess he's been hitting his shots. In his past 5 games, he's averaged over 20 fantasy points per game. and like that's a lot of value. So definitely consider giving him a look. So those are players to add in deep leagues. Thanks everyone. We hope you're staying safe.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in another video.
Enjoy.